We're talking with Fred Hersch, who's going to be performing during the Denver Jazz Fest over at the Wolf Theater on April 12th. And you're working with a trio. Who's in the trio with you?
Well, my longtime bass player, Drew Gress, who
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been playing with since the late 80s, and Jonathan Blake. And we've played together at the Vanguard for a week. It was fantastic. And we're going to be playing some dates, three concerts in New Mexico and a concert in LA before we get to Denver. So we should be warmed up and fired and ready to go.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Fred, you've compared improvisation to kind of like a flow state, meditation. How do
Mhm.
you anchor yourself when, say, on the rare occasion that feel or that state is elusive during a performance?
Right, right. Well, I mean, I think
It probably
when you
never
have,
is, but you know.
well, it is. I think it is for everybody. Everybody has, a concert where they, for whatever reason, whether it for me, the piano or the sound or something is just not right. You're kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
going upstream and, but I'm a longtime Buddhist meditator in the insight tradition, Vipassana tradition, and when I sit, there are a number of choices to select what we call an anchor. So that could be the feeling of the breath or the feeling of your body on the cushion, or it could be hearing. But the idea is, you go towards that anchor, and when distractions come up, you don't push them away. You observe them, and then you gently come back, and you realize, oh, I'm thinking or planning or monkey mind. And with music, my anchor is really just the sound and the rhythm, and the tactile feeling of my hands on the keys, how the particular way that I make sound. And the first thing to do if I'm playing trio and I'm not like in that state is to just get out of my own head and listen to what the other guys are doing. That's that's the first thing to do. When I'm playing solo, of course, I can go to another key at will. I can go out of tempo at will. I can create some kind of interlude material at will. So there are lots of things that I can do to kind of shake off that feeling of being stuck. And with a band like Drew and Jonathan, I mean, it's all they're so in the flow and they bring it every time they play every tune. So it's pretty much like falling off a log.
That's got to be great when you've got a pair like that that you've worked with so often and everything like that. Hey,
Mhm.
you're, part of, and not to get into an age thing, but you're one of the last generations to learn directly from masters like, Stan Getz, Joe Henderson, people like that.
Mhm.
What's the most important lesson you received that can't be taught in a conservatory? And is there a way maybe to start bringing that into the conservatory?
Yeah, well, I don't have any major teaching affiliations now. I did teach for many years at a bunch of schools. And I think, we're in an age of, first of all, distraction. And, um, everybody is, spending hours a day on their phone, whether they like it or
Mm.
not. And it's very easy to just go down a rabbit hole, whether it's TikTok or YouTube or whatever your poison is, or social media. So that's not, when I started to play jazz, self-taught in Cincinnati in the early 70s, 73, 74, just learning on the bandstand.
Sure.
All you had to do was know tunes, be able to swing, and be able to accompany to comp. That was pretty much the skill set. Now that we are in the age of jazz school, there's, first of all, there's so much information out there, not just from the teachers, but from videos and um, you know, back then you had, if you wanted to hear jazz, you had to buy an album, an LP, or go to a gig, or maybe catch it on the radio a little bit, but you had to kind of work for it. Now it's all there at a touch of a button. So one of the things I stress with, like I do a lot of mostly master class work, other than my private students, is to really engage in deep listening. And two little anecdotes I can mention, since you mentioned Joe Henderson and Stan Getz, who are two of the greatest saxophone players in the history of the music. One was Joe Henderson. I played with him throughout the 80s, mostly at the Village Vanguard in New York, and mostly quartet. And from the very first night that I played with him, Joe played epic solos, 10,
Mm.
12 minutes. At the Vanguard, three tunes would be a set. Everybody would stretch out. And I just got a feeling like maybe I should just stop playing for a while. I'm not adding anything. And then it wasn't any vibe coming from him or instruction. I just felt like, okay, I'm not adding anything. I'll stop. And then I would just at a certain point, maybe after a while, I just feel like, oh yeah, now I feel like I can do something here. And I did this for a number of years, 2, 3 years, I don't know. And then Joe Henderson and I were in the kitchen at the Village Vanguard, which serves as the dressing room. And we never talked much about music, but that one time I did say, well, Joe, I mean, this thing where I lay out for a while and then I come back in. I mean, I've been doing it. I mean, is that cool for you? And he looked at me over his glasses. He had these big glasses, very mild-mannered guy, actually. And he said, well, if you feel it, it's right. If you think it, maybe it's not right. And I interpreted that as uh, if it becomes a routine, like this particular tune, I always lay out at the beginning, or I always, if it becomes like a not a felt thing, but a thought thing, then maybe that's not so great. But that's really the one thing you need to know as any kind of accompanist to anybody. If you feel it, you have to go with your feeling. Like if you feel something's getting boring, then you have to do something that's interesting.
Yeah.
And and I was backstage with Stan Getz, also in New York, and I was in kind of a negative space that night after the show, and Stan was not arguably the most sensitive guy in the world, but he was in a good headspace, and I was backstage, kind of feeling bummed out. He said, "Well, what's going on?" I said, I'm playing the same stuff, And to paraphrase him, he said, "If you think about it, he said, oh, did you play anything different on that set than you did last night?" I said, "For sure." And he said, "Well, if you really paid attention, just one of those things, and you had some little aha moment, and that happened every day of the year, think of what you would learn. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you play. There are going to be things that are going to be similar from performance to performance as you play a tune for years and years and years. You think of how many times he played, Blood Count or Girl from Ipanema. I mean, hundreds and thousands of times. And he said, you just have to, find the beauty in that and pay attention, and your playing will grow, maybe a little more incrementally, but whatever you learn in that way, when you have that kind of light bulb go off, that's real learning. So that those were two great tips that I've never forgotten.
Great stories too. Those things are priceless. When you get something from a Stan Getz or a Joe Henderson,
Hmm.
they're just priceless things. That's for sure. You mentioned that you won't play a tune if you don't like the lyrics. How
Hmm.
does knowing the story of a song change the way you voice it and play the chords, or
Oh
how
yeah.
does that manifest itself in your playing?
That's an excellent question. And when a student comes in and plays a standard, I can tell whether they know the words or not
Mm,
by the way they play the melody.
yeah.
And uh, also, like a lot of times I will interpret or arrange a song, uh, a standard, using the words as a clue uh, to maybe whether or not it's more contemplative or more kind of an up feeling, or even what key I play it in. Singers have ranges and pianos have ranges, and certain melodies in standard horn keys don't sound so great on the piano. You got to find the right key for the song, but you really got to know the words. The other great anecdote that maybe people have heard before is Lester Young was doing a recording session, and playing a ballad, and in the middle of it, he stopped, and um, the producer got on the talkback and said, "Hey, Lester, what's the problem?" He said, "I forgot the words." And that's, to play a ballad, playing ballads is about the deep feeling, but the words are really part of the puzzle of those tunes. If you're playing a tune by, Benny Golson or Wayne Shorter or Kenny Wheeler or Ornette Coleman, there are no words. So you're not really dealing with that so much. Or if there are words, they were added much later. Even the Duke Ellington tunes, they were added later, and some of them are really not all that great between you and me. But yeah, words are important. Like the song "Polka Dots and Moonbeams" is a beautiful song, but the lyrics are stupid,
Uh,
and just it just it just blows it for me. I kind of can't get into it, or I'd have to just try everything I could to forget the words.
I talked to, well, I won't say who it is, but well, I can say Dr. Lonnie Smith did
All
an
right.
album of a pop guy's songs, and while the lyrics might have been poetic, they
Mhm.
didn't really make sense.
Mhm.
And I asked him about that the word thing because I'd heard about Lester Young's, and he goes, "I just ignore the words and go with the groove because it's,
Well,
you know,
Dr. Lonnie was the master of the groove,
yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah." Um, you wrote an amazing book in Good Things Happen Slowly. You were remarkably candid about being the first openly gay HIV positive jazz musician. Looking back, how did that openness, you know, change your creative output and affect you in life, and maybe in, how did it affect you basically? What was people's reactions and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I came out to my parents when I was 19,
Hmm.
probably,
Yeah.
and all my friends knew uh, that I was gay. Anybody who knew me, I think a few things affected me. In the beginning, like in the early '80s, I was very fortunate to be mentored and to play with the great bass player Sam Jones, and in a trio and quintet. And he uh, he died in the early '80s. And as much as I played with him and as much as we hung, I never really told him. And um, and also when I was playing with Stan Getz, I was living with a guy at that time, and we had a rehearsal at my loft down in Soho, where I still live 46 years later. And he buzzed the doorbell and was walking down the hall, and I hid Eric's toothbrush because I thought, oh, he's going to see two toothbrushes and wonder. And then he left, and I thought, wow, that is really stupid. Like, who cares? And so the first stage of anybody coming out, I believe, is you know, you pick the first person you're going to tell, and you're looking for the perfect time and the perfect way to say it, and you finally get up the guts to tell somebody, and chances are they'll probably say, "Oh yeah, I knew," but uh, you get very perfectionistic about it. And then the second phase is you assume everybody knows, but nobody really cares. But I've been HIV positive for more than 40 years, and I had many periods of ill health, and I also was in a coma for 2 months, having nothing to do with HIV. But uh, I've been through a lot of health challenges, both physical and mental. And in the uh, early 90s, I met this wonderful guy who he was a big classical concert artist manager, and he started an organization called Classical Action Performing Arts Against AIDS. And he enlisted all these friends of his that were superstar classical musicians to give house concerts for a high ticket price and raise money for services and education for people dealing with AIDS. And uh, I met him. I was super impressed by him. And I said, maybe I could make a jazz benefit album for you. And he said, great. He didn't know that much about jazz, but he loved the idea. And so I called on all my famous friends, George Shearing and Toots Thielemans and Gary Burton and Mark Murphy uh, and uh, and everybody, Kenny Barron, everybody said, yeah, I'll contribute a track. They couldn't write a big check, but they could, come and play a tune in the studio. And that album was called Last Night When We Were Young, the ballad album. It had a very kind of late night feel to it. And I went around to some labels figuring that they would support this, and nobody bit. And I said to Charlie, well, I guess we're going into the record business. And the publicist that I had at the time, a woman named Helene Grease, she said, I'll do this pro bono. I'll work this record. And soon enough, I was on 60 Minutes, CBS Sunday Morning, and CNN News, and in the Wall Street Journal, and in Newsweek. And we sold like $150,000 worth of albums with a 1-800 number. This is before the internet really was a real thing. And I just decided, okay, I'm going to come out not just for me because I'm tired of, keeping secrets, but I had a young friend, a pianist in Houston named Dave Catney, very gifted. He had AIDS. He contributed a song to the album, and when he told his parents, they disowned him.
Mm.
And even when they had this huge celebration of life for him with a gospel choir and every musician in Houston, his father didn't come. His mother came in a wig and sunglasses. And I thought, if he had come out to them about this earlier and known that they weren't not going to be there for him, maybe he would have found a different kind of support system. So I'm a big advocate of like being who you are. If you want to be who you are as an artist, you have to be comfortable with who you are as a person. I think most people that have come out don't regret it. But I did, I just felt like I had this opportunity with this record and also I didn't know how much longer I was going to live, frankly. My AIDS virus, the activity of the AIDS virus in my body didn't really get, you know, uh, with medication down to what we call undetectable until 2008. So that's like 23 years of dealing with an active
Wow.
HIV virus. So I felt like, okay, this is something I can do. It's an opportunity, and you know, uh, you know, it just all happened organically.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. That book is an amazing read. Anybody who's a fan of yours should read it definitely. Um, I have one question. That's kind of and we'll wrap it up here for you. Um, is there ever, and it might have been when you're younger, playing as an accompanist, is there a standard that you used to just hate that you've come to love after playing it for so long, or do you still hate it?
Wow, that's that's a very good question. I love that question. Um, every generation has, jazz has what I call jam session tunes.
Yeah.
Like when I came to New York, popular jam session tunes were Invitation, There Is No Greater Love, now the jazz standards are kind of the anthems, stable mates, original milestones. In Boston, there were like uh, Steve Swallow tunes like
Mm,
Falling Grace. Those
Falling
were jam
Grace.
section tunes. Every place and generation kind of has their jam section tunes. And certainly, when I hear somebody play Stella by Starlight and go, be da ba 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 da da ba bleh, bleh. It's very uninspiring. I've never been a big Giant Steps guy. Um, and I don't know. I remember Barry Harris playing it as a ballad, and I thought that was pretty cool. But I like Moment's Notice, which is another great John Coltrane tune. But Giant Steps always kind of left me cold. Generally, I'm not like a guy who shreds and just plays,
Yeah.
loud and fast. It's kind of not really my thing. And as I get older, it's really even less so. You know, I think I think any tune can be a drag when it's not played well or when there's no point of view behind it. Like on my last solo album for ECM, I created a piece called Starlight,
Oh yeah.
where I'm just improvising on the changes of Stella by Starlight, but not playing the melody at all. Because the progression is beautiful when you slow it down. It's a gorgeous tune, but the way that it's played most of the time is really uninspired. So I think there's no, I can be irritated by uh, anything probably. I mean, sometimes just as a joke, when I'm doing a master class and sometimes kids are not prepared and they get up there, what do you want to play? I don't know. What do you want to play? What do you want to... I say you can play anything you want, but do not play alone together. That's just one that that usually I get from students in a very uninspired way, but it's a beautiful tune. I mean, I'm sure I could find a way to do it where I'd enjoy it. So when I hear people play things, any kind of standard or repertoire, I really want to feel like, okay, they picked this tune for this reason. Or, out of all the standards or all the jazz tunes, they picked this for a reason. They thought about it.
Yeah.
They decided how they wanted to interpret it or play it. And I, I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of tunes that I could play, but they're the ones that really I feel like this strong heart connection to. So those are the ones that I tend to play over and over.
One song I don't know if I missed it. One song I'd love to hear you play sometime is Some Other Time. Uh,
Uh, yeah,
that's
well,
a
I
great
played
tune.
that Sammy Kahn and Julie
Yeah,
Stein
yeah.
some other time, which is a beautiful tune. I recorded that with the trio, and I recorded it with
I
Esperanza
guess I missed
Spalding
that one.
uh,
Oh, it's on the
and Betty.
Esperanza?
Yeah, and
Oh,
Betty Carter. Betty Carter has a great version on Inside Betty Carter. Um, but yeah, the Bernstein some other time. I used to play it with Art Farmer back in the 80s.
yeah.
It's a beautiful tune. Um, just I don't know. I think there's a very strong Bill Evans
Yeah. Peace, peace.
performance,
Yeah.
and I don't really think I could do anything better than that.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
certain tunes that I feel people own, like Ruby My Dear. I can't play that tune. I only hear it the way Monk plays it. I can't do it myself. I just, you know, uh,
I've only heard one other version, the Carmen McRae version, that I thought was something I liked, was her take
mhm.
on Ruby, My Dear. But then it's a vocal, so uh,
Yeah, right, with added lyrics. But I
yeah,
mean, she could sing the phone book and it would be good.
yeah. Hey, Fred, thanks for taking the time, man. It's really great to chat with you, and looking forward to catching you when you're here in Denver.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it very much. And I've looked at the lineup for the festival. It looks like a great one, and happy to be part of it.
Hey, if you got time, come on down and check out our piano. We've got a nice
Okay.
performance studio here at the station. It'd be great to have you come in.
All right. We'll figure it out as we get closer.
All right, my friend. Take care of yourself now.
Take good care of yourself. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
you bet.